Grella, how would you rate their chances this season? It feels like Arsenal is the one team in England that you've got to say they have to win something this season. Be nice, Grella. You've been on a good form today. You slept well, right?
Yeah. You're an Arsenal fan, right? Well, I'll be honest, like I usually am. I think Arsenal have a good chance because every team that wins, whether it's the league or whether it's the Champions League, has to be defensively in sound, organized.
Arsenal, they've got a big week, haven't they? 'Cause let's not forget, they've got Manchester City at the weekend. They've bolstered so much in their attack. I know you were happy, Jaydee, to obviously see some of this come to fruition. And the debutants that played for Arsenal today, a couple coming in off the bench as well. 7 players making their Champions League debut, including Gyokeres, Eze, Madueke, Zubamendi and Mosquera. They were all in the starting 11, and then a couple were coming in off the bench as well. How do you feel about these new signings so far? Satisfied?
We'll deal with the positives first. I think, look, it really highlights the depth in terms of just look at the quality that's across that graphic right there. That tells you everything you need to know about the business that was done, the new summer signings and the way that they've kind of hit the ground running and the trust they have clearly from the manager to go to what I think is a difficult away game. I mean, Athletic Club is going to be a different team in terms of at home, in terms of in comparison to away. But it's the quality of players that's coming off the bench. I mean, we can highlight those two there in terms of they're getting their Champions League debuts, but it's 2 players that's well known within the system in both Trossard and Martinelli. That was really the difference today. And you talk about wanting having a spark and you needing a little bit of impact. And Gabriel Martinelli's had nothing but questions around his future and his quality, but he showcased again why he is actually probably in this Arsenal squad and what he actually brings.
And they plan for this, right? I always say great clubs come from well-structured back end, right? Comes from the team planning for this beforehand. They plan for this. They got the bench. They got the rotation. You saw it even in the last game against your Nottingham Forest, where there's competition within the squad. There's always players challenging for the 11. There's players who could come in off the bench that could provide you something. I mean, it took Martinelli, what was it, 36 seconds to be able to get that goal in a game which they struggled. Athletic Club was doing great at times. Arsenal was not in control of the match always. A lot of technical ability that was missing in the midfield. And they have a really tough game against Manchester City. Probably even tougher game in terms of how important the points will be. So it's exactly what they planned for. They did their job, and Grella probably said it best that this competition suits Arsenal to a T, and the expectations are there.
Yep.
Yeah, they went the furthest of all the English teams last season, obviously, and looking to go one better this season. You mentioned it was the super subs that obviously saved the day in the end for Arsenal, and what a duo they were as well. Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard as well. Here's Mikel Arteta following the match, just speaking about the impact players.
We've talked all week really about the depth, and I'm sure when you make substitutions, you want them to make an impact. For Gabriel Martinelli to do it after 36 seconds, that must be so pleasing.
Unbelievable. Both him and Leo, you know, they have very different qualities to Eps and Viktor, but they come and look at them immediately. They were ready. Immediately they were connecting with each other, and very pleased because I told them most of the times you're going to be guys more important than the ones starting, so the quality of the minutes is going to be critical, and I'm very pleased because this is going to help us.
Grella, how would you rate their chances this season? It feels like Arsenal is the one team in England that you've got to say they have to win something this season.
Be nice, Grella. You've been on a good form today. You slept well, right?
Yeah. You're an Arsenal fan, right? Well, I'll be honest, like I usually am. I think Arsenal have a good chance because every team that wins, whether it's the league or whether it's the Champions League, has to be defensively in sound, organized, right? And the reason why you watch Arsenal games and sometimes you're not totally convinced, right? We watched them against Liverpool and you're not totally convinced, and you watch them probably today in the first half and not totally convinced because they're not willing to open up and send fullbacks flying and take risks on the other end. They're happy with being 4-4-2, being very good in defensive transition. That's something you can see that they work on. So yeah, okay, you're going to concede a little bit on the other end. You're not going to be so exciting all the time. But they found a formula that works for them, especially in these competitions. They knocked out Real Madrid this way last year, where they sat in and they were hit really good on the counter. They kept Mbappe, Vini, and Rodrigo quiet for large parts of that game into the defensive transition. So I like where they are right now. Yeah, at times you're going to get it's going to be boring for you, but sometimes you can't have it all. You can't have the results and the beautiful play all the time.
Do you feel like they've grown though, Jaydee?
In some aspects, I think it's so interesting watching Arteta's tenure because in the beginning, the fluidity was actually there and it was the question marks whether or not they could be defensively sound and tactically approach the game in the right way, especially closing them out. But I think when you look at it now, it's the complete opposite. Yeah. It's almost as if it's shifted 180 and he's now almost a little bit too, I think, focus too much defensively, and it's almost adding too much rigidness to this team and not allowing the players to, I would say, express themselves, and that's where you're getting the pressures on Martin Odegaard and Wanyeri and now Eze, in terms of you have to be individual, you have to be individually great to create for this team. There's a lot of industry in the middle of the park, but how much actual dynamic or game changes? We're just talking about Yildiz, right? What would a number 10 like that do in an Arsenal team in terms of be able to
you
change
have
the
him.
game?
You got Eze.
Depends if Arteta makes him
Eze's a
sit
player
back.
who could do that.
Not much.
And that's where the question marks come from, because look at the history of this club, Dennis Bergkamp, Mesut Ozil, there's always been those type of magic players, Robert Pires, there's always been those players that could individually change the game. They have that right now, but they don't necessarily have the system that's going to suit.
But JD, it's a good way to grow. They're growing by winning games. They're growing by still not being able to concede. There's teams that stumble in the beginning and then they have to find their footing. So it's a positive thing that they're still able to win games, even when they've not played brilliantly, even when they're not at their best, because that's what's hurt them in the past, right? It's those little slip-ups in the smaller games that you could say, but those points add up at the end when they want to win. But Papa, you said it best. In the end, they will be judged on if they can win a real title, if they could win something major. That, at the end of the day, with as much money as you spent, those are the expectations.
It's the slimmest margins, isn't it, in this competition? As we saw last season, we had some absolute thrillers over 2 legs, including a couple with Arsenal involved and Barcelona, Inter, of course. And matchday 1 tomorrow continues. We've got the 2 early games to look forward to. Olympiacos and Paphos. Slavia Prague will take on maybe one of the Cinderella sides of this competition that dazzled in the Europa League last season, Bodo Glimt. We're looking forward to that one. At the Parc des Princes, PSG against Atalanta. You've got Bayern Munich against Chelsea. What a great game that's going to be in Germany. Ajax will welcome Inter, and Liverpool have Atletico Madrid at Anfield. Just a reminder as well, in case you haven't heard, this is your chance to save big on your Paramount Plus subscription for a limited time only. Paramount Plus annual plans start at just $30 for your first year. That's $2.50 per month for 12 months for Serie A, UCL, EFL, NFL, and of course Paramount's extensive film library and so much more. Go to ParamountPlus.com/fall offer to get started today.